Imagine you are standing in a room filled with every single thing you have ever worked for: your house, your car, the savings account you've been feeding for a decade. Now imagine that while you are standing there, someone quietly replaces every brick in that house with a painted block of foam. They swap your car's engine with a plastic toy. They replace the numbers in your bank account with digital dust. The room looks exactly the same. You feel just as wealthy as you did 5 minutes ago. But the substance is gone. This isn't a heist movie. It's the reality of the world we live in right now. Most people are waiting for a great collapse. They're waiting for the sky to fall, for the banks to lock their doors, for the ATMs to stop working. They're waiting for the end of money. What they don't realize is that for all intents and purposes, money already died. It didn't happen with a bang. It happened with a whimper behind closed doors on a Tuesday in 1971. And the most terrifying part isn't that it happened. It's that we all agreed to keep pretending it didn't. We live in a world of ghosts. We work 40, 50, 60 hours a week to collect units of something that has no tether to the physical world. We measure our progress, our success, and our security by a metric that is being actively diluted while we sleep. If you feel like you're running faster and faster just to stay in the same place, you're not imagining it. You're experiencing the afterlife of a dead system. Most people look at inflation and see a rising cost of living. That's a polite way of saying the value of your life's energy is leaking out of a bucket. We've been taught to focus on the price of milk or the price of a house, but those aren't the things changing. A gallon of milk is still just a gallon of milk. The house is still just wood and stone. It's the money that is shrinking. We are using a ruler that gets shorter every year and wondering why the table seems to be getting longer. This creates a profound psychological conflict. We are biologically wired to seek stability. Our ancestors looked for fertile land and sturdy shelters. But today, our shelter, our financial security, is built on a foundation of shifting sand. This is why everyone is so anxious. This is why the middle class feels like it's suffocating. We are participating in a game where the rules change after the bets are placed. To understand how we got here, we have to look at what money actually is, or rather, what it used to be. In the simplest terms, money is a battery for your time. You go to work, you expend energy, you provide value. In exchange, you receive a token that stores that energy so you can use it later. For thousands of years, those tokens were tied to something finite. Gold, silver, something that couldn't be summoned out of thin air by a keystroke. It was a fair trade. Physical energy for a physical store of value. But in August 1971, the link was severed. The US dollar, the world's reserve currency, became fiat. That's a fancy Latin word that basically means because we said so. Suddenly, money wasn't a battery anymore. It was a policy. It became a ledger managed by people who have a very different set of incentives than you do. Think of it like a game of Monopoly where the banker can just print more hundreds whenever the game gets too quiet. In that scenario, does it matter how many properties you own? Does it matter how hard you play? The value of your effort is entirely dependent on the banker's restraint. And history shows that bankers and governments have very little restraint when they are in debt. The system we have now is essentially a giant machine that produces debt to create the illusion of growth. When the government needs money, they don't just wait for tax revenue. They issue bonds. The central bank buys those bonds with money that didn't exist a second ago. This new money enters the economy. It feels like wealth. It feels like stimulus. But there's a catch. Every new dollar makes every existing dollar worth a little bit less. It's a subtle tax on everyone who holds the currency. It's a tax on the grandmother with a savings account. It's a tax on the young couple trying to buy their first home. It is a redistribution of wealth from the people who work for money to the people who control the creation of it. We are told this is necessary for stability. We are told that a little bit of inflation is healthy. But healthy for whom? If you lost 2% of your blood every month, you wouldn't call it a healthy habit, you'd call it a slow death. Yet we accept this as the natural law of economics. Let's look at the hidden mechanics. Let's look at the math that nobody likes to talk about. Since 1971, the purchasing power of the dollar has dropped by over 85%. If you had $1,000 in 1971, you could buy a decent car. Today, that same $1,000 might get you a high-end smartphone and a few months of service. The work required to earn that $1,000 hasn't changed. A day of labor is still a day of labor, but the storage capacity of the currency has evaporated. The hidden math of our era is the hurdle rate. In the past, if you saved your money, you were rewarded. The money grew in value because it was scarce. Today, if you save your money, you are punished. To simply break even, to just keep the same purchasing power you have today, you have to take risks. You have to put your money into the stock market, into real estate, into crypto. You are forced to become an investor just to survive. The system has effectively turned every plumber, teacher, and nurse into a part-time hedge fund manager. We are forced to gamble because the safe option, holding money, is a guaranteed loss. This is why the stock market goes up even when the world feels like it's falling apart. It's not because the companies are getting exponentially better. It's because there is nowhere else for the dying money to go. It's a game of musical chairs where the music is getting faster and there are fewer chairs every round. Now look at the hype. Look at the world of social media where everyone is a millionaire by 25. We are flooded with images of financial freedom and passive income. This is the modern gold rush, but the gold is digital and the miners are influencers. The reality is that most of this wealth is just a byproduct of the debt bubble. When you pump trillions of dollars into a system, everything goes up. Luxury watches, art, garbage digital coins. People start to believe they are geniuses because the number on their screen is getting bigger. But wealth isn't a number. Wealth is the ability to sustain your lifestyle without working. And as the cost of that lifestyle is pushed higher by the very money being printed, the finish line keeps moving. You see people on YouTube telling you to hustle, to grind, to get the bag. They are selling you a map to a city that is currently sinking into the ocean. The trap is thinking that the solution to a broken currency is just getting more of it. It's like trying to put out a fire by throwing more wood on it because the wood is damp. The more currency we chase, the more we validate a system that is designed to drain us. We are obsessed with the price of things, but we have completely forgotten the value of things. There's a psychological toll to this that we rarely acknowledge. Humans need a sense of progress. We need to feel that our effort today will make our lives better tomorrow. But when the money is dying, that link is broken. It creates a low time preference society. If you know your money will be worth less tomorrow, you have no incentive to save. You have every incentive to spend. Buy it now, put it on credit, consume today because tomorrow is uncertain. This is why we see a decline in craftsmanship, why we see a decline in long-term thinking, why everything feels disposable. Even our relationships and our careers start to feel like temporary transactions. We have become a society of hunters, desperately looking for the next kill because we can no longer be farmers. A farmer plants a seed and waits years for the harvest. But you can't plant seeds in a field that is being flooded with salt. Even the people who understand the math, the ones who see the bubbles, the ones who know the history, they still struggle. Because it is emotionally exhausting to live in a state of constant vigilance. It is tiring to always be looking for the exit from a system you have to live in every day. We are all participants in a collective hallucination. We all agree that these digital bits and paper slips have value because the alternative, admitting they don't, is too terrifying to contemplate. So where does this leave us? We are told that the experts have it under control, that the central banks have tools, that this is just a cycle. But look around. Does this feel like a cycle? Or does it feel like a threshold? We are moving toward a world where the death of money becomes impossible to ignore, where the gap between what things cost and what they are worth becomes so wide that the bridge finally snaps. Money was supposed to be a tool for human cooperation. It was supposed to be the language we use to trade our skills and our time. Now it has become a tool for human extraction. It is a system that benefits those closest to the printer and burdens those furthest away. You can't fix this by voting. You can't fix this by complaining. You can only fix it by changing your relationship with the ghost in your wallet. The day money died, nobody noticed because the shops stayed open and the lights stayed on. But the soul of the economy was gone. The trust was gone. And without trust, money is just paper. Without trust, a bank account is just a scoreboard for a game that has no prize. We are entering an era of great consequences. The bill for the last 50 years is coming due, and it won't be paid in currency. It will be paid in social stability. It will be paid in the quality of our lives. It will be paid in the time we lost chasing something that was designed to disappear. The question you have to ask yourself isn't how much money you have. The question is, what do you actually own? What do you have that isn't a debt or a digital entry or a promise from a government that is $20 trillion in the hole? If the music stopped tomorrow and the screens went dark, what would be left in that room with you? We spend our lives chasing the wind. We sacrifice our health, our families, and our peace of mind for a medium of exchange that is being liquidated in real time. The greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing the world he didn't exist. The second greatest trick was convincing the world that money was still alive. Maybe it's time we stopped mourning the dead and started looking for something real. But then again, real is a very expensive thing to find these days, and most of us can no longer afford the price. What happens to a society when its foundation is a lie? What happens to a person when they realize they've been saving for a future that was sold off decades ago? The answer isn't in a textbook, and it won't be on the news. The answer is in the quiet realization that the world you were told existed doesn't. And once you see the paint on the foam bricks, you can never go back to believing they are stone. The day money died was a quiet day. But the day we finally notice, that will be a very loud day indeed. And as the silence begins to break, you have to wonder, if money is gone, what exactly are we all working for?